Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started with Padres manager Mike Shildt. We do have one microphone floating around the room, so just raise your hand. We'll get you the microphone. First question for Mike. We can start with AJ on the left side in the third row.
Like, what clarity do you have regarding Joe Musgrove's status?
He's not going to participate in this series. We'll have more information coming later today, but he won't be in this series.
Is there a chance he could pitch again this postseason?
We'll just leave it at that for now. Yeah, he's not going to participate in this series, and we'll have more to come here shortly.
How do you go about replacing him, both roster-wise and in terms of what you're trying to do in the rotation?
Replacing Joe Musgrove is a tall order. Good news is we do have people that we trust, and we have a deep pitching group, as we know. But Joe is Joe. He's a presence, physical presence. He's pitched outstanding for us since he's come back. Was throwing the ball really well in Game 2 the other day. So, I can't say that we're not going to be able to replace Joe. He's a special individual. But I can tell you we'll be just fine to compete. He'll be in our hearts, but he won't be with us on the mound.
Do Barry in the front, and then we'll go to Bryce in the back row.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, Barry. How about yourself, buddy?
Good. So do you, just one quick question for my other one, following up on AJ, do you have a rotation for the 4 games yet, or is that still to be determined?
We feel confident about the 2 games that we have to begin with. We got Cease going, and we've got, obviously Darvish going Game 2. Wouldn't be surprised if you see Michael King soon thereafter, and we'll go from there.
You've seen Ohtani enough. What's the key to trying to keep him, off the bases, non-productive? Cease has got great numbers against him. I was looking it up. It's like 4-15. What do you do to suppress him a little bit?
I'm not telling you. Clearly he's a great player. He's having a historic year. But we feel good about our plan, and just plan's only as good as execution. I feel confident we're going to execute as well.
Anything about this being his first playoff series?
That's a question for him. Yeah, it's it's different, but the same.
Go to Bryce in the back row. Barry over there.
Hey, Mike, your team was the best at making contact in baseball. What was Victor's influence on that, and what has his impact with this team offensively as a whole been, and what makes him unique in that role?
Victor Rodriguez is, first of all, just an outstanding hitting coach with a lot of experience, worked with a lot of players, been in this environment, been with the clubs that have won World Series, so he knows what this looks like as well. So that's another asset for us. But I've always been in lockstep with Victor and his idea about what a holistic offense looks like, an offense that can beat you in a lot of different ways. We both have shared the expression and put it together like we just need one more than the other team. We like 10 more, but we just need one. And how do we get to that one more? And it's through a lot of different ways. So his ability to partner with our club has been outstanding. His philosophy is, I think, the way the game is supposed to be played. It's situational based. It depends on, being able to handle the bat, hit with 2 strikes, use the whole field, move runners. And yeah, we can still do damage, which we clearly have as well. So he's got a great way of teaching it. He's got a really good way of helping create the identity. But Victor nor myself would begin to tell you that we can have all the identity in the world and philosophies in the world and sayings in the world, but they're only as good as the players that are able to buy in and execute. And that's where it is. That's where it's been impressive. We have players that we set a team record, first time in team history that we won a batting title for a team. Obviously Louis did it individually. But we got a group of guys that bought into whatever it takes. I say this a lot, but now we're in a bigger stage, so people might not have heard as much. Early in spring training when Toddy said, we just need to do what the game calls for. Like most things that are brilliant and a lot of wisdom in it, they're simple, not easy to execute all the time. But if you work on them, you have the right mindset, you see the game, you play the game to win, you got a group of guys with the talent to do it and the desire to do it. That's why we're sitting here, one of the reasons at least.
Alden?
Just a quick follow-up on that. What was the process like of getting buy-in to that philosophy?
It started, I mean, like I said, we hired Victor, and got on the same page with him. I was already on that page. I've known Victor a long time. And then it was a matter of getting down with our, core leaders, the guys that, we've rightfully invested in this organization for the long term between, Manny, Bogey, Crony, and Toddy, and to spend time with them in the off season and, just worked with them, talked to them. Victor really did the heavy lifting. I knew what was taking place. I didn't need to be overly involved. That's his department. I trusted completely. And then just a matter of talking with those guys and creating an identity, what we're going to stand for, and then making sure that the other group being the guys that were coming in, were on board with it. And the good news is, we had Profar who plays to win. Does all the little things that the game calls for. We, signed him towards the end of spring training, and we obviously trade for Louis, signed Solano, Peralta, all professional hitters that buy into the same thing. And so, it's just been a group that has a common belief system.
AJ?
Mike, what do you remember about Dylan Cease's arrival on your team in Korea and kind of how that all went, getting him to meet and learn his new teammates and his new team?
It was unique. I mean, first of all, last day of the official spring training before we played our first game, before our next part of spring training. It's unique. You don't really get those announcements. You come off field, you're ready to catch a flight to Seoul that's 16 hours long, and you just got through with a unique spring training, and you come off the field and, hey, we got Dylan Cease, and immediately the threads start with Ruben and him, and myself and him, about AJ and him, like what that looks like. Is he going to come over? What do we do? Where's he at? He's not going to pitch, but he wants to get with the new teammates. And we would have been fine and comfortable if he would have said, you know what, listen, you guys are there. I'm going to stay back here at the complex. We trust our player development staff. He can throw sim games. We'll see you over in San Diego when we get back and go from there. But he was, his reaction was, I thought, was ideal for us. He wanted to be integrated with his teammates. He wanted to get on board. So he hopped on a flight, got over, and was excited to go participate, and even threw in the, one of the exhibition games for a couple innings. So it said a lot to him about his dedication to wanting to be part of the team.
Yeah, can you go into that more? Why was that so important that he was there and around his teammates for an event like that?
Well, when it's just really when your actions speak louder than your words, right? People say, I want to be part of the team, I want to be part of the team. Well, okay, do you want to fly 16 hours and acclimate, or you don't want to wait 6 days and allow yourself to just stay where you're at and get your work in, and that would have been fine. But him having the strong desire, wasn't even a second thought for him to take us up on the opportunity, or the option rather, to stay back. He's like, no, give me a flight, and let's see who got him a flight, and showed up, and he's fit in since day one.
Standing up on the left side, Mike?
Yeah, without delving into strategy, how much does having Mookie and Freddie behind Shohei change a dynamic, or does it change a dynamic of how you might want to approach him?
It's real. I mean, you think about it, it's, how to navigate that in a couple of different ways, just broad strokes, without getting into anything that's really, strategic overly. But, you look up and, yeah, you want to take Shohei out of the equation, but you're always, just like when you bunt somebody, who are you bunting them over for? Who are they going to be able to get them in? You usually put somebody on because you like the matchups better behind them, and you got two MVP caliber guys right behind them. And Mookie's a pretty neutral guy. Hits righties, hits lefties. So there's not a real handiness advantage there. And I've also come to, you set up double plays. Getting the strategy of that, but it's really just a matter of also, I like the competition, and I like, a lot of times we have a lefty on Ohtani, which we prefer. I think the numbers bear that out, and we like our lefties. And I'm not a guy that likes to run from competition a whole lot. We clearly tip our hat, and he's clearly a very exceptional player. But I believe in our guys too. So it's what competition's about. And there may be a time in this series that, we tell them to go down the road, and we take on Mookie and see what that looks like. But it'll be really situational based. But we feel confident that we have the ability to get Ohtani out.
Standing up on the right side, David.
Mike, you guys have seen each other a lot, not only this year, but these players have competed the last 3 or 4 years. What's the balance between trying to be unpredictable but also sticking with your pitcher's strengths?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know there's always the one thing that's great about this game is the adjustment, counter adjustments. It could be a constant flux, and also within that, making sure you stay to your strengths too. So, you know, we call ourselves talk about being elite adjusters. You know, see the game. What is the game calling for? I think that's going to be really important. What is happening in this moment with these individual at bats, with these individual pitchers? What do they have that day? What are they featuring? And then, you know, us have the ability to recognize it and use our strengths.
AJ, just on the left side, third row.
Dylan, your last start was against these guys. What are some of the challenges of having to do it again in a kind of ramped up atmosphere now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for me, I'm not really looking at it any differently than last time. I'm kind of just, you know, learning from that experience. The biggest thing is just, I feel like that gave me a little bit of a kind of an experience and a look into what this will be like. Obviously, it's going to be a little more intense, but if anything, I look at it like it was kind of preparing me for this.
How did you do that preparation, knowing that you could have faced Atlanta and now you end up facing these guys? Like, were you focused on the Braves until you weren't?
I was more focused on what I was doing, kind of work on my mechanics, making sure I liked how the ball was coming out of my hand. You know, and since I just faced them, I have a lot of their lineup kind of fresh in my mind and on, you know, how an attack plan. So it was more of just focusing on putting myself in a position where I feel like I was going to execute as consistent as possible, which for me was kind of work on mechanics.
Barry.
Hey, Dylan. So you've had pretty good success against Otani. I was noting 4 for 15, a couple of home runs, 4 RBIs. What do you do to basically suppress what he does? And was a lot of this here, or did you face him a little bit in Chicago with the Angels too last year?
Yeah, I faced him when he was on the Angels. Obviously, he's a great hitter, and you got to mix it up and do the best you can and not leave over the heart of the plate, really.
Does he have a hole?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into too many details on anything, but you know, he's obviously a great hitter, so I'm going to go in with a high level of focus and just attack.
If you give me too many details, you have to kill me. Is that what to tell me?
Yeah, essentially.
Go to Alden and then to Kevin up on the left.
Hey, Dylan, how tough is it for you guys that Joe Musgrove is not going to get to be part of this, at least for now, with you guys?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he's not performance-wise going to be out there, but he's a big part of our clubhouse and a leader, so he'll be with us in other ways. But it's definitely unfortunate. But either way, we're going to pick up the slack and we're just going to keep moving forward.
Kevin.
As a teammate and you know, rotation mate the first year, what did Joe mean to you?
Yeah, he meant a lot. I mean, you know, he's a great leader, a great teammate. Being from San Diego, really kind of helped show me around and show me the culture and everything. So I'm grateful that I was able to, you know, be around him so much this year.
Has there ever been a hitter that you haven't challenged and you're very confident in your stuff? It's good stuff, but you've got Shohei and then a couple really good hitters right behind him too. This is a unique lineup, and I just wonder, would you face them differently than you have anybody?
I mean, in general, baseball is kind of a game where, you know, you have to do certain things if you're going to have success. If you pitch timidly and you walk guys or you fall behind, you're really just setting yourself up for failure. So at the end of the day, it's a challenge, and you know, it's difficult, but you got to kind of rise to the occasion and meet it.
Hey, Jurickson, you've been here for all 3 of these division series matchups, and each time's kind of like the circumstances have been different. Your pitching problems in 2020, and then they beat you guys so much in 22, but then you beat them. Like, how does this team, this Padres team, compare to those previous 2 teams?
I think this time we a little more prepared, and a lot of players on our team has been through this division series numerous of time already, and I think we are more than prepared this time.
As far as facing the Dodgers, there was a time like when you first got here, it was like, oh, the Dodgers, and it was, how do we do against them? And that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I just wonder how much you guys have changed in that way.
Like I said, we are more prepared and more successful too. We've been winning a lot of games against the Dodgers already, and we're prepared.
A few more for Jurickson.
Not,
Obviously, these two teams saw each other very recently with the end of the regular season. How would you just describe that series, the intensity of that matchup, and how do you think, from your side, it's kind of prepared you all for this division series?
Yes, down the stretch, every game mattered. Every game was a playoff game. We came here first, and then we went to Arizona. They were fighting too for a playoff spot, and it prepared us for now. Those games were playoff games.
Yeah, they often, on the Dodger side, we often hear about just how you all and the Padres in specific show up with a lot of intensity when it comes to this matchup. Where do you think that stems from, whether it's in the clubhouse, just how you guys play on the field? Could you put that to words, I guess, if possible?
I think we play high intensity against every team,
Mm-hmm.
but the Dodgers have a really, really good team, and I think the energy that the game itself brings is a little different,
Thank you.
Jesse on the right side standing up.
Pro, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, what Luis Ariz brings in that top spot, kind of setting the tone at the top of the order and getting to hit a couple spots behind him most nights.
A lot of things. He's like, he goes, we go, and he always put great at bats together, and he's a hit machine. Yes.
Anything else for Jurickson? Hazel on the left side, third row.
Hi, how different is the mentality of this Padres group going into the playoffs compared to years past?
I think we are more confident, just by winning makes that happen. You're more confident in yourself and in your teammates, and we have a great team, and we believe in each other, and we're always fighting for each other.
Come up here in the front row. Tony.
JP, you guys often, as a lineup, have these long, extended at-bats, and how did you guys get to that point? Because I know you're not up there intentionally every time trying to have these long at-bats, but just by the style in which you guys play, it seems like you guys end up dragging these pitchers out to the deep end. Is that something that you guys have purposefully done, or is this kind of just as the year has evolved, you guys have gotten to this place?
Yes, I think we got there. And, I think the whole lineup is like that. We got guys that are really, really tough outs, 1 through 9, and I think that's a good job by the front office.